Before you export anything for 3D printing, it's very important that when you click on your object, Moai tells you that this is a solid. A solid indicates that this is watertight. Beyond what you can see just with your pixels, every corner, every edge is seamlessly attached. I've exaggerated a problem that can happen in people's meshes. If I zoom in here, you see that gap between this edge and this edge? That's going to create a hole. On your screen, it just looks pretty much like the one next to it. If there was not this hole, after they're joined, it should tell me that this is a solid. But notice in the top right, it says joined surface. Whenever you see joined surface, that is an indication that whatever this object that you've made, there's holes in it. It's not fully enclosed. All right, so if you try to export this box on the right, you're going to have problems. Now to fix that, you're going to have to go in and you can use this separate button and it'll separate all the surfaces that you've joined into separate parts. And then you got to go in and you got to find that troubled area and you've got to redo it. And if I draw the closed shape correctly and then I join it, notice now that when there's no holes, it becomes a solid. Now that it's a solid, I'm good to export this. So if you've got a part that you've made, it looks great on the screen, but somewhere along the line, you've created a joined surface and not a solid, you got to pump the e-brake. Depending on the type of model you're creating, this issue could creep up in different ways. The realist answer is it takes practice. But we're not done yet. This video is not over. We're just getting started. In fact, cue the music. Sharpen your swords with me, brethren, for we will not allow the joined surfaces to defeat us. Join me. I will show you the techniques to slay this foul beast. And together, as many rise and many fall when the dust settles, you and your 3D model will remain properly prepared for 3D printing. Let's begin. Yeah, and I'm keeping this music on because it's fucking amazing. Maybe turn it down a little bit. When I pick a tool out of Moai, and it's a tool that is asking for me to provide inputs, that's an opportunity for me to click wrong, not connect something properly and create a hole. So I drew this really sloppily to prove a point. Even if you're trying to be perfect and you got your snaps on it and you're doing everything right, you open yourself up to the chance to make a mistake. So how do you fix that? Well, that's where we want to utilize Moai's tools as much as possible. What do I mean by that? Let me show you. Let's just take a look at these two pieces. Just like in any 3D software, there's multiple ways to do things. So I could come up here to the right and click on show points, and that's going to turn on these little grips. And then I could select these and use the move tool to snap them into place. Now, because snap is on and I see that they kind of popped in, 99% of the time, that's going to result in a good connection, right? But I just want to point out that doing it that way, you leave yourself open to a potential mistake that you don't see by no fault of your own. So an alternative to this is to think of what other tools you could use that forces Moai to do that calculation for you. So instead of me snapping these points onto points, how about I use the tools within Moai to do that for me? So I can select both of these and use the trim command. And now if I select this piece that I want to trim, Moai is going to make that cut for me. And I can be confident that because Moai made that cut and removed this piece, that these two pieces are seamless, okay? So that applies to curves as well. So in a situation like this, when possible, if you can loft past the zone that you actually want, and then you can create the plane that is the side or the curve, whatever it is, basically create an intersection that you can then select and trim. That's how you can be confident that you now have a piece that is perfect. Let's select all these. I'll use the trim command again. So now let's test and see if what I've been talking about is correct. If I join all these together, we should see a solid result. I click the join button and look up at the top. It's telling me it's a solid. All right. Okay, so I've taken this model and separated it so that I can select different faces, and I've deleted several of them. We're going to move around this model really quickly, and I'm going to show you like 4 different techniques for fixing troubled areas of a model. All right, first on this backside, by the way, this is where the basic tutorial series really comes in handy, because the real secret is everything being taught in that tutorial series is more than just basics. After you learn them, you'll discover creative ways of applying those tools. So thinking back to that tutorial series, what tool can we use to fix this side? You could try to draw arcs and then extrude that out and snap points. You could make a new cylinder and try and scale it to fit, but some of these methods leave room for you to make a mistake. So instead, let's use the sweep tool. If I click on that, we want to select the profile. And again, profile in this situation would be this line here. Hit enter, select rails. Rails is where we want to extrude the profile around. So in this case, that would be this curve. And whenever possible, you want to select multiple rails. So in the case of this model, both of these sides are symmetrical, but if they weren't, this process would still work. Hit enter, and again, Moai completes the calculation and creates the surface for us, removing that potential middle ground of us misclicking or creating a problem that we don't see. All right, for this one, I'm going to show you the loft again because I want to point something else out. I will copy these edges. Notice that I'm copying them instead of trying to redraw them. So I'm working with existing elements that I know work, using them as a fixed condition. All right, so select those 2 curves, run a loft, boom. Now when it comes to trimming, it's the same thing I already showed you. However, I want to point something else out. What I already showed you was trimming by selecting surfaces, like I am right now, right? Whenever possible, it's better to trim with the edges only, because if you select the entire surface as a trimming element, then Moai is taking that entire surface and its curvature to bear on the calculation of figuring out what to trim. So if you have a very complex model with multiple compound curves and there's an intersection again that you don't notice, and when you run your trim, you're using this whole surface as a trimming feature, that you could end up with like a tiny sliver of a surface that again you don't see on your screen unless you were zoomed into the right spot, and then you would have a joined surface again because that extra little piece is hanging out. So the best practice when trimming surfaces is to select the edge and not the surface itself. Okay, really quickly again, rebuilding a filleted edge. Sweep tool is fantastic for this, especially because you have a curve in this direction and the curve in this direction. Again, I will select both sides for rails. Okay, boom. Rebuilding a corner like this, you can use n-sided underneath the construct tab, and then if you adjust your view, you can adjust the rounding of that corner. Okay, now for this piece, this missing piece down here, flat and a little bit of curvature, you could use any of the options that I've shown you so far. I just want to show you another technique so you have it in your head. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste those edges, and I'm going to go ahead and move it out. Since I know, and again, we're relying on the pieces, the parts of the model that we know are successful. So I know this width, right? I'll create a 3D solid because I know using these tools, right, generates a perfect result. And then I'll move this up here. And now we're back to some more of our basics training that I'm sure you recognize. I join those 2 lines together, move it up so that it's intersecting this solid, select both of them and run a Boolean merge. I've created a piece that I can be confident in, right? Because we generated the width off of the existing model and we generated this curve off of the existing model. So now I can select those surfaces, copy and paste, and pop them in. I don't want to give you the wrong impression from this tutorial that you shouldn't, trust snaps. The point that I'm making, however, if you can think of a better tool that takes the guesswork out of your hands and puts the calculation into Moai's hands, you reduce the chance of a mistake. All right, so now that I've done all those, let's see if they all worked. Select everything, click join. Did we get it? Look at that, we got it. It's a solid. Huzzah. Hey, you did it. You crossed the finish line. Let me tell you something. If you watched this entire tutorial, we have covered a ton of information here. You now know what to look for to make sure that you have a quality 3D model that's ready for 3D printing. And if you have issues with your 3D model, you have some tools in your toolkit to fix that. In the next tutorial, we're going to take a look at the export settings inside of Moai 3D, creating a file type just right for 3D printing. So stay tuned. you know what to do. Bye-bye.